All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to November. Thanksgiving's only 3 weeks away, but today is an observation that can help some of us prepare for that day. Yes, it's National Men Make Dinner Day. Again, I do not make these up. Now, on today's webinar, we're going to cover 6 powerful research-driven strategies to translate technical benefits into emotional triggers that drive purchasing decisions. And believe it or not, when buyers see the value, price stops being the problem. Now, you know who's making dinner tonight and today in honor of today's holiday? Sam Rashkin. And when he's not cooking up food, he's cooking up wonderful things like the Energy Star and Zero Energy Ready Home program. And Sam is also the creator and teacher of the Housing 2.0 content, which is based largely on Sam's latest book, Housing 2.0, A Disruption Survival Guide. The full program was established to help empower you, our building professionals, to design and construct higher performance, healthier, more sustainable homes at a fraction of the cost. Now, Sam's going to lead us through today's seminar and also address your questions at the end. Now, before we get started, we need to recognize our main sponsor. Panasonic Healthy Indoor Living Solutions is helping builders across the country differentiate themselves with powerful, code-compliant, and cost-effective indoor air quality solutions that provide a safer environment for home buyers. And their products can definitely come in handy in case you burn dinner tonight. Now, during the course of today's presentation, you can submit questions for Sam. Simply use the Q&A function located in the menu bar at the bottom of the Zoom window. I'm going to review those questions and pose those to Sam after his presentation. Hey, what's cooking, Sam?
Hey, thank you, Mike. Good to be back with you, and welcome everybody to the next Managing Uncertainty seminar. This week, as Mike mentioned, we're going to talk about uncertainty with home buyer sales, particularly for high performance homes. There's a lot of challenges, and I want to introduce 10, not 6, but 10 science-based strategies for translating value. So let's jump right in like we usually do with placing you where you are in the seminar series this year. Today's November 6th. Today we're talking about uncertainty with homebuyer sales and the 10 science-based strategies for translating value. For those of you that have been attending the series throughout the year, June 26th, we covered high performance home certification, likely changes and how to adapt. And then on August 21st, we covered housing affordability uncertainty and 6 cost saving strategies to build better for less. Then on September 11th, we covered uncertainty with the housing workforce and 4 survival strategies for how to manage incredible challenges ahead with the trades. Today, November 6th, sales, and finally wrap up the year next week with uncertainty with growing homebuyer expectations. How do we manage those? And we'll talk about ensuring homes that live better by design. How do you meet those expectations by housing design? So that's this year's series. Will wrap up next week. What we'll cover today will first be the usual review of the background for Housing 2.0 as context for how we kind of generate a lot of the content we do in these series. Then we'll talk about the Housing 2.0 value advantage, how much value increase you create by applying the fundamentals we go after with this program. And then the rubber meets the road. How do we translate that value? Will be the third section, and we'll open up for discussion. All this should take about an hour, so let's jump right in. So the background for Housing 2.0, what we like to always make sure people realize is that when we look at detailed survey data done at the national labs for where people spend time each day, what's really significant, we spend nearly 70% of our time in our homes. And that means that home is where life happens, basically. That's how significant all of our careers are in the housing industry. We are involved where people spend their lives. So that creates real interest when we realize that the movement towards telework is probably bumping that up even higher, possibly to 75%. So this generates the why this program exists in the first place. Why Housing 2.0, homes where life happens better. That's all we're after. That's why we exist, and everything that we're after. It includes living better financially, living better in terms of our lives every day, and better protection, and all the things that we expect from our homes. Now, what we do is we create a framework for how we get there. Fundamentals for consistently delivering a better user experience at lower cost. And since most of my audience comes from my work with Zero Energy Ready Home and Energy Star, I already know a lot of people that I attract to these programs are already embedded in really optimizing home performance. But that's only one leg of a five-legged stool. So there's all these other experiences we have to include as well: community, design, quality, and sales. And how we do that basically, and what we do in more detail with each of those five experiences is the framework basically includes five user experiences, 20 strategies, and over 175 best practices. So you can consistently do better for less. Community is three strategies, 24 best practices. Design is five strategies, 60 best practices. Performance, five strategies, 48 best practices. In quality, we talk about four strategies and 24 best practices. In sales, 23 strategies and 20 best practices. So this is not enough just to focus on, let's say, building science, efficiency, and health, three uh, pillars of high performance. We have to get much more user experience focused to be successful. And how we do that is we look at a new business model to move from just focusing on first costs with limited investment in user experience, experts and special features, to a housing 2.0 business model where we invest more in user experience, experts, and special features, particularly those that are a sure thing. In other words, features and expert solutions that we know will transform how a home lives. And then what we do is critical. The next step was we optimize cost. We talked about this last seminar. There are six strategies, proven strategies for dramatically reducing cost across all these experiences. And the net by doing that is we have all these cost savings compared to the low first cost focused business model, along with all the added value from the superior user experience and lower ownership cost. So the net is we have to now translate all this cost advantage. And the outcome is typically tens of thousands of dollars per home. And these six strategies that we covered last week were going from excessive waste to optimize lean, from excessive complexity to optimize simple, from excessive systems as an afterthought to systems integration, from excessive quality assurance expenses and warranty costs to optimize quality, from excessive customization to mass customization, excessive time and process to optimize productivity across all these experiences. And the result, the outcomes of doing that are homes that cost less to own, that live better, live healthier, protect better, and last better. So this is powerful benefits and advantage and helps particularly high performance home builders be industry leaders, just what we're after. So example that would, this is kind of real results we get is working with a builder like Tim O'Brien Homes, the largest production builder in Wisconsin. We would start with one model home he brought to the table and we would go after it. So you see the original first floor plan on the left with all the notes with about 26 different notes for how to leverage cost savings on the first floor, in the basement, and on the outside, additional notes. And in the end, when he does all that, he has the optimized floor plan. And then we ask him to go, and you can't manage what you don't measure, to actually measure the outcomes from all those improvements. So we give him a spreadsheet tool, and the builder, him or herself, will calculate the outcomes. In this case, Tim calculated added value was about $72,000 and cost savings were about $46,000. So I really mean it when I say tens of thousands of dollars cost advantage per home. This is about $118,000 net cost advantage for optimizing just the design user experience. So this is what we try to do, and this is a resource for how you get it done. Housing 2.0 Disruption Survival Guide, and plus we encourage you to keep attending all these seminars. Okay, let's move right into today's topic, managing uncertainty with home buyer value. And let's start with the Housing 2.0 value advantage. If you go through the book, chapter by chapter, we keep calibrating all the cost outcomes. And I'm going to give you a summary of basically a lot of the findings that we're able to calculate. And it starts with first recognizing that it's not enough just to be sustainable. Say, I'm going to be a zero energy builder. You have to recognize that you have to create all these other experiences that create value and add tremendous benefit to the high performance builder to become an industry leader. People care about health, they care about open space, daylight, fresh air, outdoor living, storage, smart homes, work at home, advanced lighting, color. The list can go on and on. And when you do all that, then you're able to be super competitive. And so when we start with Housing 2.0, we have a framework for each experience and community. Why we optimize communities, because place matters. Connection, environment, investment. We have goals for what we try to do, optimize interaction, appearance, and persistence of value, and strategies for how we do it, open spaces, quality features, and value. And the net outcome is we lower ownership costs with natural comfort, free energy, and things like sharing sheds that reduce requirements to own things. We add value with wellness, social connection, open space, farm to table, and we add value because we're future ready. Open spaces just have amazing ability to increase appreciation, as does homeowner association maintenance that keeps communities looking good throughout the community. South orientation adds future value, tree-lined streets, optimized views, town centers, expert landscaping, quality features. And when you realize that too often we hardly count these value adders, if you will, and just assume they're zero, that's the wrong answer. And so again, Housing 2.0 will basically try to calibrate initial simple approaches to just start putting some numbers together so we're not on zero, which is wrong. And this adds up to maybe 100 to 200,000 cost advantage just for getting community right in terms of each home's improvement in value. I'm not going to go through all these with the same detail, but just show you the process we use with this program. So in design, space matters, and so outside, inside, and the details. So we do all these strategies for optimizing location, nature, space, form, and function. And then we wind up with these user experiences. We have lower construction cost, we have lower ownership cost, we have added wellness value, and we have added future value just like before, and they add up to numbers. And the design adds $100,000 to $200,000 of cost advantage when the user experience from design is fully optimized. And similarly for home performance, protection matters from durability, high bills, sickness, protection from water shortages and disasters. Again, we do a lot of goals and strategies to get there. And then again, we have impressive outcomes. We lower costs for construction by optimizing enclosure and mechanical, electrical, plumbing. We get lower cost outcomes, lower cost of ownership from bill savings, maintenance, health, expenses, water bills, insurance costs, and solar revenue, and added wellness from healthier living and superior protection. And then we have added future value with smart homes, disaster ready, electric ready, and that is not zero value. And again, we assign values and do quick calculations. We get numbers like this, 10 to 40,000 of value. So that's $150,000 to $250,000 cost advantage just for high performance homes. We so under calculate the value of what we're doing with high performance. And lastly, in quality, productivity really matters. Cost and value, cycle time, rework, risk, reputation. We do all these things to minimize defects and waste while optimizing products and assemblies and process. We cover a lot of this. And essentially, we wind up with lower cost of construction by reducing time, waste, rework, warranty calls, and integrated design yields tremendous savings. And then lower cost of ownership, we reduce maintenance and utility bills, wellness from safer materials and enhanced protection, and added value from quality construction and superior warranties. That value is not zero. And so again, we wind up with tens of thousands of dollars of savings. So you kind of get here, the big picture is that what we're doing is tremendous investment in the user experience. We have to translate this value. This is crazy. to do all these things and not make sure the buyers fully understand all this value. So that leads us to this major section of today's seminar. How do we translate that value? And remember what I said, these are science-based solutions, things we know that work from all sorts of research and reports and studies. We know these are absolutely effective. So let's go with the very first concept here about translating value. Once value is understood, price becomes much less important. That's probably 1,000-year-old sales axiom. I don't know where it came from, but I love sales axioms because they speak the truth in a way that's so powerful. And so too often we're focused on price and we lose the amazing business advantage of having a high value product. So translating value, 10 behavior change strategies we're going to cover. First, pre-sale, before people come to see a home or come to a sales office, you have to really effectively message them to consider you to buy their homes. They're only going to go to at most 7 different builders. How are you on that selection process? And so the behavior changes we're after on the left and the strategies for getting there on the right. So we want to optimize inspiration, we lead with the why. We want to optimize emotion, we use power words. We want to optimize clarity, we're going to leverage contrast, and we want to optimize confidence that we deserve to build where they're going to spend 70% of their lives. We got to earn their trust. So we talk about how we do that. Then we go during the sale to these 5 behavior change goals and then strategies. We want to optimize understanding. During the sale, we have to ask questions. We want to optimize retention. We have to create experiences. We want to optimize enthusiasm. We have to be the expert. And we want to optimize relevance. We have to make it personal. And we will have to optimize satisfaction. We got to curate choice. This is maybe one of the more controversial strategies I'll talk about, but the research is real clear. We're over customizing our homes and we're creating less satisfaction. My builder buddies will argue with me at no end on this one, but eventually I hope they listen more closely. And lastly, after sale, we got to optimize loyalty. And we'll talk a little bit briefly about after sales service. So that's the agenda for how we'll go through this. Hopefully it moves fairly quickly so you get a flavor for just how powerful these strategies really are. So let's start with lead with the why, strategy number 1. And Simon Sinek's famous for just making this really broadly exposed in terms of the powerful concept it is. His quote is, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that's because why is a core belief, why you exist, and that's what they really care about. How and what are just the process used and the products and services that fulfill the core belief. And those are interesting, but the why is what's inspirational. So the business case for this is the data shows you that why-driven companies are so much more successful. A purpose-driven company report called Firms of Endearment revealed that over 1,000% return over 10 years, looking at the financial data for all these corporations, was 3 times greater than the 330% return for good to great companies, which before this concept was James Collins' pioneering work on why companies leaped way ahead of other companies. And that was supposed to be the kind of the epitome of how good companies could be. And Firms of Endearment were 3 times outperforming financially those companies. And compared to S&P 500 companies, the purpose-driven companies were 8 times greater financial return. So huge business case for leading with why, if you trust the correlation between a financial return and calibrations with these companies' profiles. So if you lead with the why, what are the criteria for the messages you will use to convey your why? And I've come up with 4 because I've had a hard time finding criteria how to do this. So I've studied why messages are the most successful. And the four that I've come up with are: one, you have to be simple. That's in order to optimize understanding. You have to be short. That's so you can optimize recall. I recommend a maximum of 7 words. And you have to be emotional to optimize inspiration. And this is the one that's most critical and where I see some huge mistakes, particularly in politics. You got to be universal. You can't have 50% of the public not believe in climate change and try to sell them on buying a climate protecting home. They have to, they'll turn you out right away. It's not universal. Half the people don't buy climate change, so you stay away from it because you don't need it. You have such a superior experience. Focus on the universal appeal so you optimize residents. So here's some examples of great whys I've collected, and they all meet these criteria. So here's an example with 7 words, but I add the plus because there's a tag to this one I like a lot. So Starbucks why was to inspire and nurture the human spirit. Now, some of these evolve over time and will change, and you'll see a different why, but these are the ones I've collected and locked in with. And I love this why because it completely translates the reason Starbucks exists. It's coffee shops are more than just selling coffee. It's about place, about where you can just have an environment for just enjoying your coffee and being able just to focus um, on your either work or relaxation or whatever you do when you're in the Starbucks. And I think the editor they did was really nice and almost poetic. One person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. But essentially, it's to inspire and nurture the human spirit. Another 7 word example was Tesla's why to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport. Because a lot of things evolve and things will change over time. But what a huge um, uh, compelling why to such a large market of car buyers that wanted something that was so much more sustainable than fossil fuel transportation. And then the why for Apple, think different. Just they were going to come at you with technology that just was completely innovative. It was intuitive, it was user friendly. They're just going to think different to make this work better for you. It was a great 2 word why. And then Disney had only needed 1 word for what they do, whether it's their amusement parks, their movies, their cruises, all their toys, everything they do, it's about magic. And that's why they exist. They create magical experiences. So that's how powerful this is because once you hear a word, you almost know who the company is. And when people know why you exist, the inspiration is just so much greater. And so here's my personal example I use for Housing 2.0. I've used homes where life happens better. Since we're there 70% of our lives, we should be making homes where life happens better. And that's 2, 4, 5 words I've been able to use for my own. Okay, this is what I observed though. Right, I'll be traveling, coming back from Housing 2.0 or the old days retooling US housing industry workshop. And then as soon as I'm done walk to the airport, see a message like this: Lennar, Tampa's #1 home builder. Uh, this is missing in action. Why do they exist? Why should I be inspired? Why should this be a company I have to include in my list? What a waste of messaging real estate just to have this kind of message from my lens. Okay. And here's another one missing in action on a website. This is Toll Brothers. And what's the message here? Start your search. Why? Why should I care about this company? So in contrast, this company came to the second or third retooling the US housing industry workshop. Excuse me. And I love the company. I love the owner. Just this is one a lot of builders sometimes I really court and try to become really good friends with, and this is one. And after he came to the workshop, within a few months, they became Thrive home builders. I don't know if it's directly a result of attending the workshop, but it sure seemed to be correlated. And I love this name change because what does Newtown mean? compared to thrive. That's why they exist. They want you to thrive. And look how they execute on the messaging they came up with right after the name change. Your home should help you thrive. Ours does. Your home should help pay your energy bill. Ours does. Your home should make you healthier. Ours does. Your home should be built by your neighbors. Ours are. They clearly clarify and build all their messaging architecture about why you will thrive if you choose them as your home builder. Again, it's just they're your neighbors, you're going to be have lower bills, you're going to be healthier, you're just going to thrive living in our homes. And then they show you beautiful homes throughout the website that show you also get great designs. But the power of getting your why nailed down is that all your messaging can then build and support it. And the synergy of all the messaging, all building and building that inspirational concept is compelling. Okay, strategy number two, use power words. When you speak and communicate, you can choose any words you want. They're free. And it's amazing how often we neglect to use the words that are the most effective changing behavior. And I can show you all sorts of research that words matter and language is compelling and powerful. And there's endless studies about the power of words and how important they are. And one of the best quotes that kind of gets to that point is from Rudyard Kipling. Words, of course, are the most powerful drug used by mankind. So let's take some examples that show words are, oh, this is my quote, words are free, so use the good ones, the powerful ones. They're a great bargain, in other words. And definition of power words are those that trigger a psychological or emotional response. So in politics, by the way, today, you see where uh, some of the political discourse that's going on, how amazing this concept is embraced by some and ignored by others. So let's take some examples that show just virtually the behavior change is almost bankable when you get the word right. So it was really difficult to sell Patagonian toothfish. One of the sea merchants went down to South America to see this brand new fish that had great texture, color, taste. It's just a fantastic fish. And it was called Patagonian toothfish. They brought it back to the US market and it just rotted on the shelves. They couldn't sell this stuff. And so the marketing guys got together and said, we got to do something. And they changed the name to Chilean sea bass. That one name change, Chilean sea bass, and it went from rotting on the shelf to almost putting the fish into extinction because the demand was so great from the seafood consuming public. Just the change from toothfish to Chilean sea bass. Turns out the American seafood eating public didn't like the sound of toothfish, but sure loved Chilean sea bass. Words are so powerful when you get them right. Another example is it's really difficult to sell prunes. They're associated with a certain demographic and bodily functions, the butt of a lot of jokes, excuse the pun. And essentially, prunes sales were just going south. So the California fruit growers got together, got some marketing guys in the room, and they came up with a new word, dried plums. And they even made it hipper. They added California dried plums, and sales increased almost immediately 25% first quarter after the name change. This is 1985 or 6. So incredible just what happens when you use the right words. The market response, the revenue, the business outcomes, just from a word change. Now, in our own industry, housing industry, or in well, in the government sector, this applies too with public opinion. It's really difficult to rally the public against the estate tax because obviously, if you're rich, you should pay taxes. So one party wanted to change this policy, get rid of the estate tax. So again, got some marketing experts in a room. And as you probably all know, they changed the name to the death tax. Easier to rally public opinion to support this because why should you pay taxes just because you die? the power of words to just create emotion and get people to change behavior just never ends. And so this, with this name change, they got the tax removed, but they reinstated it later because it rounded up that due to the limits, it impacted such a small population of the public that it didn't make a difference to have the tax or not have the tax. So they brought it back. So now moving to our industry and housing, let's start with existing housing and how frustrated I get every time I see um, people who want to improve existing homes use the term energy audit. That is really difficult to sell. Usually when I'm in a group, I'll do an instant survey, raise your hand, how many of you want an audit? And no one wants to be audited. It's a word that's pejorative. It's one of the worst experiences that we dread every time we submit our taxes every year. Why would you name something that is connotated with such a horrible experience? All the words out there that are free, and you choose energy audit. I know it's accurate. You're auditing the home, assessing the opportunities to make it better. But why don't you just make it much easier yourself? Energy checkup would be one recommendation for a term change. Energy checkup I like because we already value checkups. We bring our cars in for checkups. We bring ourselves in for checkups to doctors for health checkup. We understand the value of a checkup. We have a valuable asset, our cars or our bodies, and it's worth checking to make sure we're okay and avoid really big expenses or outcomes later that we don't want. We already have that knowledge and understanding by the public. Why would you call it audit? This is just being lazy, coming up with a term based on its technical accuracy, not on its power word capability. And that same concept applies to this term as well. It's really difficult to sell a ventilation system. Out of 1,000 homeowners, you ask them what a ventilation system is, I don't know if 1% would know. No, it's a very complicated concept. It's foreign to, we have to educate them from a zero understanding. We have to bring them up to understand the benefit. When for free, we can use the word fresh air system. And everyone we know values fresh air. Every time a room's stuffy or you feel like you're not feeling quite well, you want fresh air. I already value fresh air. Why would I call it by the term that describes its technical function, not what inspires people? That's the power of power words. Okay, so you get the idea. And essentially, we can translate or convert almost all of our technical jargon into power words when we sell high performance homes in particular. I love this book by Daniel Pink, a really good author. I like To Sell is Human. It really was amazing how it talked about strategy number 3, leveraging contrast, because it adds clarity. Directly from the book, clarity depends on contrast. We understand something better when we see it in comparison to something else than when we see it in isolation. Contrast is this huge behavior change strategy that is just ignored so much, it drives me crazy. So let me give you one other point about this, that when you take contrast and you augment it with loss aversion, here's what you're losing not doing this versus what you're currently doing. It's so much more powerful than how much energy you will be saving, which is what we used to really focus on with high performance homes in the early days. I hope most of us are changing from that. So let's talk about contrast. And here's a case where it's missing in action. This is an NFRC, National Fenestration Rating Council label for a window. This is a label that goes on the window. So it's not for the architect. It's not for the home builder. The only one that's going to probably see the label that cares possibly is the homeowner when the window is installed. And because you already purchased it, if you're the builder, you already specified it, if you're the architect, the label's there for the consumer. Name one consumer that will even begin to understand this kind of label. You have 5 different metrics, 5 different concepts. You have incredible complexity about what these things even mean, U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, visible transmittance, air leakage, condensation resistance. What are these numbers and how do I gauge them when what you're really looking at is a powerful um, choice between two types of windows, a double glaze Energy Star window on the left and a triple glaze Energy Star window on the right that's even beyond Energy Star. So it's this is the curse of knowledge. The people who came up with the label are just knee deep swimming in all the technical details, and this is what they want to share when it doesn't affect any behavior change. So the window sitting in Home Depot with this label is useless for the home buyer. My recommendation to is to start thinking about concepts like this. The Energy Star double glaze R3 window on the left is really a 10-year window in a cold climate. It's obsolete in 10 years because it's just not good enough. Whereas a triple glaze window is a 50-year window in a cold climate because triple glazing is where the industry is going to go, particularly with the advent of the thin triple window that costs a lot less, and that's where it'll be. So if you're okay that one of the most significant features of your home, all the windows, are going to be obsolete in a short term, you can buy the 10-year window. And again, if you're trying to get people to put out a tremendous additional cost premium for triple versus double glazed window in a cold climate, you need a compelling value proposition. I understand this may be a bridge too far, but there are other concepts we can build upon, and it has to be simple. It has to be one thing that shows here's what you're giving up. Remember what I said about loss aversion? You're giving up so much if you make the choice not to spend the extra 15,000 for the triple glaze window. This is what you give up. Loss aversion makes contrast really powerful. And I love this simple example of clarity, with only implied contrast. So this, and here's a typical billboard from the high cost, and here's the location, and here's who we are. Now be interested in us. And that adds no clarity. Now you only have 10, 20 seconds as people drive by, maybe 15 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. So I love this example from Garbett Homes. My power bill's $5. What's yours? Heather Robbins. So what the contrast here is implied, everyone knows their utility bill is hundreds of dollars, and yet here's a bill that's $5. Well, that's incredible. And maybe I want to understand more and visit this builder because there's clarity about the contrast. This is a different kind of builder. You have to find these kinds of simple solutions to do that. Strategy number 4, messaging. You got to earn trust. People are about to make the biggest investment of a lifetime for a large, vast majority of home buyers. This is going to be nothing bigger that they invest in. And so how do you earn the trust to make that investment in you to provide them their home? And so again, the research, the books, all the studies have been done on trust are compelling that it is critical to be successful. A good friend of mine, Todd Usher with Addison Homes, also, because he had so much free time, decided to get a PhD and did some research. And a study he did that I'm quoting, it's also worth noting that none of the 162 respondents indicated they strongly agree that home building companies are dependable or trustworthy. Okay, consumers don't trust you. They cannot trust you. They only buy a home 3 times in a lifetime on average. And only 1 out of 7 or 10 homes that people buy are new, the rest are existing resale homes. So the experience people have with home builders is almost non-existent. And they don't even know what's behind the walls. They don't know how you build. They don't know what they're looking at. So how can they trust you? You have to assume you have to build trust almost from a zero trust starting point. So the 3 best practices for how you do this: independent certifications. I'm a little biased as the Energy Star Zero Energy Ready guy. association with leading brands, and testimonials. Three great strategies to do that. Independent certifications in the car industry for repairs are really significant. AAA surveys say 2 out of 3 US drivers distrust auto repair shops. I would bump that up to like 95 out of 100. I mean, you don't know what the car repair guy's doing these days. Of course, now there's a little bit of trust with the computer diagnostics and the reports they sometimes produce. But, to build against that distrust, AAA sells their approved repair certification. And that's an important independent certification that helps uh, a lot of car maintenance shops get past that lack of trust. So another example in the car industry is used cars. It's really difficult to sell used cars. So to earn trust, they first start with a power word, pre-owned cars, and then they bring in the certifications, certified pre-owned cars. Now you're cooking. And an older data point was from years ago, is the average premium for a 3-year-old mid-sized car was almost $1,000. And for a luxury car, the average premium is about $3,000. So that's for a certified pre-owned versus just buying a used car. So just certification creates tremendous trust, so people want to spend more. And so it's important that you earn that trust. So here are all the certifications available to you as a builder at a national level that I've put together. EPA Indoor Air Plus, and the attribute is certified for healthy living, Energy Star certified home. And remember, I don't care about energy savings, right? No, in this epic housing affordability crisis, the energy savings keep shrinking and shrinking to such a small amount of your monthly ownership costs. That's not my attribute. My attribute is that you're getting a house in the top 25% highest performing homes with Energy Star. A little bit higher now with 45L tax credits that will again drop down when those credits disappear. DOE Zero Energy Ready Home is certified to the top 5% highest performing homes. Passive House is certified most rigorous, efficient option you have. That's your thing. You want the most energy efficient. WaterSense is certified water efficient. Fortified Home is certified disaster protection. And the USGBC Lead for Home and the National Builder Guidelines from NHB are certified green, whatever that is. And I don't mean to be dismissive, but I do get frustrated that green is 4 tiers of gradation: gold, silver, bronze, platinum, whatever it may be. And within each grade, each tier level, there are like endless permutations of points you can mix and match to achieve that certification. So in the end, you don't know what you're getting, because no consumer can understand the nuance between all those different tier levels and then the point combinations. So, it's just, you have to hope people value green, as it's very significantly losing resonance, I believe, over time. So, but yet they're green certifications. I'll probably take a hit for saying this, but I think green has the opportunity to do better and pivot from what it's been doing for too long, which is 4 tiers and a crazy amount of point schemes to get to those tiers. But anyway, that's what the certifications do, and all of these increase trust, even the green ones. And so they're options for you. And then their association with leading brands in the computer industry. Again, the processor and the software that comes bundled with the computer have big importance to the buyers. They do understand, do the marketing, certain processors are better and software is better. Obviously, this is an old image, but it's good at showing that the computer manufacturer is leveraging these other brands that are embedded in the product to increase its value or trust in the product that the consumer is buying. And housing can do the same. We have all these embedded brands that have tremendous value in the marketplace: building materials, insulation manufacturers, window manufacturers, roofing, cladding, comfort systems, HVAC, dehumidification, smart systems, monitoring systems, IAQ, interior products, electrification, and even to the degree that, on the advisors you use as a builder, maybe you use a a name architect in the community you build in, or a name landscape company, or use as a special advisor, a building science expert of renown, or a health expert is an advisor. Those are things that can build trust in your product. And these are all brands you can integrate into marketing your product, and very not really used as much as I believe the industry can use, very underutilized. And the last one to talk about in terms of earning trust is testimonials. Let your buyers say you're great. That's so much more compelling than you saying, trust me, I'm great. And I was at a dedication for Cobblestone Homes in Midland, Michigan, and doing a little speech for the dedication. And afterwards, this guy, Tony, came up to me. This isn't Tony, this is just a stock picture, but Tony came up to me and told me that his daughter had this incredible problem with asthma, and just in no time, he was able to throw away the inhaler. It was priceless. So we walked Tony up to Melissa and Mark Wall and said, you need to have Tony's story right in the entry of every home you build as a model. Because that's just so powerful that he was able to, his whole life changed because he could throw away the inhaler for his child. You live for your kids' health and wellness, and look what this home did for him. And you got to use this to build trust. This is so powerful. So a lot of websites, I think, attempt to do this. This is one that shows right up front, instead of burying it like a lot of builder sites do, right up front, you see the testimonial. They were fabulous. And that's great to have. It's really helpful to earn trust. If people see your buyers are really happy. Not nearly enough builder harvest their buyers' good experiences into testimonials. It's a whole strategy for how we can do that. That's a separate conversation. Okay, strategy number 5 is asking questions. Okay. And so now we've done the messaging. Now we have people coming to our place of business, our model homes or offices. Are we asking questions because understanding matters. Again, the research is endless on the power of good questions to create understanding and create stronger business opportunities. You've got to be good at questions. And so the guidelines that I recommend from all the stuff I've been reading and studying and the research I've done is you start with first the question, is it okay to ask questions? Please, may I ask a few questions before you walk through the model so I can better understand how our staff can help you get the most from your visit today? Some simple question, just to make sure they open the door. Some people just want to walk through, don't want to deal with the salespeople. Then you know that with that first question, you know to basically pull away. But if they give you the okay to ask questions, then you got to uncover the urgent needs. That's the purpose of all the questions you ask. And your objective when you uncover the needs is to solve the home buyer mystery. What aspirations are most important? What pain points are they most struggling with their current homes? And how do they live? That you can help them live better with your homes. And the questions need to be easy to answer, interesting, and encouraging them to talk, not yes, no questions, which you want them to just open up. This is a real like detective mission to really dive in and solve this mystery. So this is what we do. Here are some sample questions. You might want to understand the contrast with their current home. So you ask, what do you like least living in your existing home or apartment? What do you like most living in your existing home or apartment? How much is your current annual utility bill? See if that's an issue. Examples of questions that help you understand the competition. What other home builders or existing homes are you considering? What considerations did you use to select the builders to visit? And just start, you're a detective. You got to figure out what they care about. And then critical needs. Why are you shopping for a new home? Do you have any concerns or special needs for any family members? Do you have any must-have features? How do you envision living in your next new home? Are there any special certifications that are important to you? And just, all these are just samples of questions. There's so many more, but you get the idea. I hope as I walk you through these, you see how important it would be to know the answers to all the questions I just read out to you. You've got to be a master asking questions. And then you've got to be a master at listening after you ask the questions. Now, the 80-20 rule is you listen 80% of the time and talk 20% of the time. But beyond listening, it's how you listen. And I'll call people's attention to a great book by really an author I like a lot, David Brooks. Read this last year, but How to Know a Person, the Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Seen Deeply. I think this book's written more about in light of the current polarization across the country. But as you read this book, you will see how effective this can be in business, listening with compassion and understanding, and how to really get into what people care about. It's a great read, and if you're doing all the talking that something's not working. So really important concepts here, and it's the way you listen. Okay, strategy number 6 is creating experiences. And that's because emotion matters. And again, I just splash on the screen lots of research, books, studies, things that really validate that these are, again, science-based strategies. So they're all over the place, the power of experiences to really create emotion about what you're doing. And the reason why we need experiences is we have to increase retention. People forget information. They forget 50% within 1 hour, 70% within 24 hours, 90% within a week. In contrast, experiences are like imprinted on your brain when you see something compelling. And so you've got to get past this forgetful curve. Here's a quote from one of the references about the forgetting curve, where commodities are fungible goods, tangible and services, where commodities are fungible, tangible, and services are tangible. I gotta get this one messed up. But basically, when your commodity is just not well understood, experiences just create tremendous memory. So I'll clear this one up next time out. But you get the idea is that we're trying to really imprint on people's brain with experiences so they remember. And here's a study that proves this is powerful and behavior changing. Basically, Plymouth University did a study in Bristol, England, where they sent out armies of energy assessors. Maybe they call them auditors, but I'll call them energy assessors, half with thermal imaging and half without. And when they compared the uptake on the energy improvements recommended by the assessment, typically air sealing, they had 5 times more uptake with the assessments done with a thermal imaging camera. And the total uptake was 75% of the homes that were assessed took action. That's an insane uptake number. And 95% planned future work. So powerful, and yet this study is ignored. I keep showcasing how powerful infrared imaging is. And let me give you an example. Here's Zola Windows used to be a really nice sponsor for our retooling workshops I used to do. And they brought me this image, and it tells you everything you need to know. You can guess which house they put in the new Zola Windows. The one second from the right, obviously. And I love the fact that they had these historic French doors and transom windows that they left unchanged. Because but for those doors showing a glowing red color, you might think this home might not be occupied. And that's why you see so little heat loss coming out of the windows compared to the neighboring units on either side. Now, what would be the power of this experience to show it to the neighbor on the left, the neighbor on the right, neighbor 2 doors down? So we did your neighbor 2 doors down. Here's his house compared to your house. Can we help you have this kind of incredible comfort, quiet, and reduced bills with our new windows? It's just an completely different sales proposition with that experience. So this is the power of experiences. Again, with infrared cameras, here's a fairly decent framed house on the left. I have some framed homes I've seen that are just egregious thermal bridging. One on the left is okay, but compare that to an advanced SIP home on the right. That's an infrared camera shot of a SIP home. And if you have to convey what advanced enclosure technology can do compared to conventional framing, SIPs are great. Now, continuous insulation would do the same. How come? So you can use the same experience for continuous insulation. But you see, this is behavior changing. Which house do you want? The one on the left or the one on the right? It makes that extra investment of a few percent of the cost in the home for an advanced enclosure so much more palatable. Okay, strategy number 6, creating experiences. In Housing 2.0, the reference I mentioned earlier, we go through 38 visual experiences, and we do experiences sorted by the 5 user experiences. Community design, performance, quality, and sales. And so here's an example, for instance, of having a storage tour. If someone really is going nuts, if their house is full of clutter, as you're walking through, you're conscientious to say, boy, look at all the storage in the bedroom, look at all the storage in the laundry room, look at the storage for all your vacuums and cleaning supplies, and look at all the storage in your dining room. And you're able to, when you do the walkthrough with them, now know that you need to insert seamlessly, without even mentioning it, a storage tour of the home. And experiences are really important with high performance homes because it's really hard to tell that they're high performance. In contrast, the new home industry is focusing on the contrast between old, tired existing homes and new home design. So you have the old, tired home, and then you go through the new home design. And model homes are so effective because we have that contrast vivid in our heads when we leave our house and then see the complete difference with a new home. New windows, new doors, new cladding, new pavement. It's just amazing. Of course, then it's staged with all the landscaping and the furnishings inside as well. So again, we go from a tired existing home kitchen that we own to the new home, and we see the new kitchen. This is what the industry has figured out how to do pretty well, create this experience with the model homes. But when you go to become a zero energy or Energy Star builder, it doesn't work. The zero energy ready home and the non-zero ready home, they look the same. So you have to be better at translating, creating experiences around the high performance home. So on the right, you see a picture of the NIST, National Institute Standards and Testing, zero energy home on the campus in Gaithersburg, Maryland. So that was designed by Betsy Pettit, beautiful home, and super high performance, zero energy home. And what you see when you go to the home is this sample wall assembly. And what's missing is a contrast. So I keep begging people when if I go there, to please show a sample wall, conventional built wall, right side by side with that, and say, which would you want, this old construction or advanced construction? Now, if we want to build on the prior strategies we talked about, we can add all these power words as labels to what we're getting. We're getting health protection with chemical-free paint on the inside. We're getting chemical-free insulation. We're getting chemical-free sheathing. We're getting high utility bill protection with a full thermal blanket, not continuous insulation, a full thermal blanket. All these are power words shifting from the technical terms that we use every day in high performance. We're getting all this moisture protection with an advanced weather barrier and with advanced water drainage. And instead of an air gap This is advanced water drainage. And we're getting high maintenance protection with 50-year siding. This is cementitious board siding and complete moisture control. Now you compare that to an existing wall and you look at all the things you're not getting, and it's much easier to understand the extra value of the premium cost to get this assembly. Similarly with SIPs, I always go nuts that the SIPs homes don't have side by side. Here's advanced construction, here's 150-year-old construction, the same as they used to build in 1877. It's time to get advanced technology that's advanced quality, dimensional accuracy, impact resistance, wildfire resistant, advanced protection, bills, contaminants, moisture, pests, advanced luxury, comfort, quiet, strength, condition space. More condition space because you have all that attic volume. So essentially, we got to make the invisible visible and create experiences around that. And one that's incredibly underused is just collecting the energy bills from your existing home buyers. So you have an experience, the actual utility bills that show the bill for a client's house you just sold is negative $13 a month. Compare that to the average home bill of $343. Now, until you have the contrast. Now, remember I said earlier that energy bills are shrinking the value, but when you get to a zero energy home and you start getting down into $30, $40 and negative bills compared to hundreds of dollars, maybe that's worth showcasing. So the tip here is please ask permission to access utility bills. You typically do that by giving each buyer a waiver that they sign permission for you to access the bills directly from the utility. Okay, be the expert is really important. It should be a prerequisite for any salesperson. Things usually don't go well when the customer knows more about the product than the salesperson. And that's another great sales axiom, words to live by. And it's critical because if you're not the expert, you lose credibility. You have lots of missed opportunities and people just don't trust you know what you're talking about. It's ineffective communication. It's a competitive disadvantage and a loss of control of the whole process. You've got to be the expert. And I got all these by doing AI search based on, I said, look at all the sales books, articles, research studies, industry reports, and training programs, and tell me what happens when you're not the expert in the sales process. And that's what AI gave me back. So it's critical for sales agents to have knowledge because knowledge breeds enthusiasm and earns trust. Another sales axiom. So training is just so important. You got to train them on the product facts so they know how to back up emotion. You have to train them to use experiences to prove the facts are absolutely credible. And you have to be an expert advisor on all the user experiences, not just high performance or zero energy, on community, on design, on quality, and service. So Section 8, strategy number 8 is now to make this personal. And I like to use a process I got from Gord Cook that I think he doesn't teach to anymore, but I think is still incredibly relevant. And it's a 5-step process. And it begins after you've done the preparation. You've asked discovery questions, right? You ask those discovery questions and you've uncovered 3 urgent needs or aspirations. Now you're ready to go. Now you're ready to make it personal. Now all that effort you did asking questions is leveraged for a real powerful outcome. And the 5 steps are: first, you identify the feature that you want to bring forward that addresses an urgent need or aspiration. Again, up to 3 per buyer, because that's the most you'll be able to do in any exchange. And how you label that feature is with power words. Remember, we're going to make it personal by applying all the other strategy or many of the other strategies we just talked about. The second step is to cite the advantage, the generic advantage and value. And here's where you want to start being the expert. They got to trust you, that you are the person they should listen to. The third step is now you make it personal. What's in it for me? You're going to cite the benefits and you do this but with contrast that provides a clarity. This is an answer to their problem, or this is an answer to addressing the opportunity aspiration they want. Then you got to provide the evidence that that benefit is bankable. Proof the benefit is actually something that's a certainty. And you do that with emotional experiences, and you wrap it up finally with a mini close. You got to do something so too many salespeople forget to do is ask for the business. The close question. Can we reserve a lot for you today? So you make sure you get the best home for you that addresses all these needs. So these are the 5 steps. Let me give you an example how they apply. And let me mention, this is not a burden. This is not going to delay the whole process or be something that is distractive. This should be 45 seconds. Let me show you how it works. So let's talk about an example where you've integrated whole house storage. You've really followed Housing 2.0 recommendations to provide a lot of built-ins and storage in your home. And now you come across a buyer who's absolutely out of their mind. They don't know where to put things in the current house. The pain point they're talking about is the house is always a mess. So power words, feature. Let me walk you through this. I understand you need much more storage and hear the same concern from many of our buyers. That's why all of our homes include a whole house storage system. Advantage. This means every home we build comes with must-have storage features. Again, loss aversion, commonly missing in other homes. Benefits, personal. Say goodbye to your daily frustrations with the cluttered homes. Proof, evidence. Compared our detailed list of storage features, here's a checklist of all the storage we provide in each home we build. And I'll highlight many of them as we walk through our models as you do the storage tour that we just discussed. Mini close, last step after you finished walking them through. Is this the kind of complete storage solution you're looking for? Yes, you're building yeses to get to the big close. Which house can we reserve for you today, right? Let me show you with a high performance home example. Let's say you're certified Indoor Air Plus or something, you're certified health. Okay, so the feature with power words, given your family's health is a top priority. Again, you've done the questions, this family really cares about their kids are struggling with breathing every day. Given your family's health is a top priority, you should know all of our homes are certified for comprehensive health protection. Okay, not Indoor Air Plus. They don't know what that is. The power word here is your homes are certified for comprehensive health protection. You got to really work on this language. I can't tell you enough how important it is. Advantage, this means our homes are independently verified to include 100% of the health measures EPA indoor air quality experts recommend for every new home. Okay, that's generic. Now make it personal. You'll breathe easier knowing you have industry-leading protection to manage your family's daily struggles with asthma. Proof. This EPA indoor air quality certification with each home we build means you get twice the health protection with just Energy Star certification. Okay, so again, loss aversion, here's a certification. It's a great experience to see this label, unique label you get on the home. Mini close, is this the type of health protection you're looking for in your family? What I just did is 45 seconds after you've done all the listening, you can convey this in 45 seconds. You can time me on this walking through, and that's all it takes. That should not be too much effort. So the only way you're going to get there is with training your salespeople to translate this value effortlessly in less than a minute and keep getting better and better. This is a process, a system for ensuring consistent outcomes. If you keep translating the value and making it personal, your numbers will show it in terms of increased sales. Okay, strategy number 9. And this is when people kill me on because they keep thinking I got to customize. you can't do enough, you can't do too much uh, uh, choice, and you can't do too many features and choices and customization in our homes. And I'm going to tell you, look at the research. One of the best ones I've come across is The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. More choice leaves us less satisfied. Another study at Cornell University by professors there, basically, I'm paraphrasing, says less is more. Shoppers presented with 24 varieties of jam were far less likely to make a purchase compared to those who only had 6 options. And when they make a choice, they're less satisfied because they're so worried about all of other options they had that they didn't choose. So what you got to be in the business of is curating choice, expert options so that you get the best satisfaction. You want more options, increases focus on superficial, make it harder to commit to one and result in less satisfaction. Another study. So you want to constrain the choices, the bounds of cognitive resources to make choices. I remember going to one Sunset Magazine custom builder conference, and almost every panel I listened to, the builders would talk about when they went to the showrooms and they were in the designer showcase portion of the buying process and had to make all the choices. The couple would get into arguments, people would start crying. I couldn't believe all these discussions. People see this, that it's overwhelming, all the choices you have to make. We have so much opportunity to simplify it. We go to these designer studios where we have to make choices and hours and hours and hours, and it's so expensive in what it adds to our cost of building, and it overwhelms buyers. And this is what the auto industry does. They all build their choices around a curated series of models for each car. In this case, Toyota is LE, SE, XLE, and then XSE. And you start with a bundle of features for the LE, and you build on additional features you get with the SE, additional features with the XLE, and additional features with the top XSE. And you figure out where you are in terms of your budget. And then it's all curated with the features that meet that budget most effectively. When I first was buying a car, the first car buying experience I remember with my parents as a kid, you would go to an American car manufacturer and you'd sit there and every single thing in the car was a choice. And it was maddening watching it. And my parents, you could just see the frustration. Now it's bundled set of curated features, and then you have a certain set of options on the color of the upholstery and maybe on the hubcaps, but it's so optimized to keep you on budget, on the key features that you care about, and on the performance that you desire, mileage and so forth. So I'm suggesting we could do the same thing with housing. We can have the value package, the deluxe package, the limited edition package, and then for additional options, you might give people a choice for outdoor living, landscaping plan, EV charges, a solar system, a battery system. Maybe there's some things that just can come with every home. But now I have curated choice. So when I go to the design center, I know I'm at level 3 and I only pick between the cabinets and fixtures and things that are at level 3. Here's level 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is what I think would really help reduce stress, keep people on budget, reduce exhaustion, reduce confusion, and reduce the time and exhaustion people have just with the current system. So I know a lot of you disagree, but I have a lot of examples where this really works well. So a couple of words about curated choice. First, the reality about trends. White is out, designers get bold with kitchen colors. My point about showing this is reality. Whatever choices overwhelm buyers agonize over and overspend on today would be completely different in a year or 2 years when the next trend or next preference or just their own taste continue to evolve. So they'll be happy almost momentarily. And again, they'll forever be thinking about the other options they pick the right cabinet among 100 choices. It's so hard. And one more point, I want to make a final word. A lot of options for homeowners to customize their homes. I just curated a list of all the things you can do for furnishings, with decorations, with accessories. I'm not going to read you this list, but the way we really customize our homes is with how we make them personal to us, the furniture we choose, the pictures we show, the maybe some awards or recognition we got, plants, screens, area rugs. There's so many ways we can make a house personal. And it's finally strategy number 10, after sale service. This is the one strategy for after the sale. What do we do to ensure a customer for life? This is really like 5 different strategies bundled into one. But one is you can have a constant way of giving home buyers access to solutions and address questions and have all the information about their home documented in a homeowner portal on a website. You can have longer term warranties. The 1 year warranty that comes with a home is unbelievable. No other product has so little warranty relative to the lifetime of the product. A home should last 100 years. And the fact that we only warrant it for 1 year, sometimes a 10-year warranty on a structure. But it's amazing how powerful I think long-term warranties could be if but we'd have to attach the long-term warranty to a service center obligation. We'll give you the long-term warranty if you use us to do services twice a year. We come to your house at $700 a visit, and we check your HVAC, we check your cladding, we check your gutters, whatever it may be. And then homeowner engagement is another way to build loyalty after the sale. Get your homeowners engaged. Maybe you have some classes you do to train them to use the smart home, where you bring them all together to learn about the high performance features, whatever it may be. And software updates. If you build a smart home, you can continually update their home and their smart home capabilities just with the suppliers you have updating the thermostats and updating their all their sensors and controls for security and everything else. So, there's just ways you can keep a customer for life and keep them engaged and keep ongoing revenue. And why this is critical is once you optimize user experience, if you do what Housing 2.0 recommends, if you really invest in those user experiences, then extract the cost savings, you have tremendously enhanced value. So it's a really missed opportunity not to take all that advantage you have and turn those customers into a really powerful sales force for your business. So this is really, and also like many of these things, highly underused, doing things to keep a customer for life. So here's a call to action, and I'll wrap up for today. We talked about basically 10 optimization goals: inspiration, and do it with leading with why; emotion, do it with power words; clarity by leveraging contrast; confidence by earning trust; understanding by asking questions; retention by creating experiences; enthusiasm by being the expert; relevance by making it personal; satisfaction by curating choice; and loyalty with after sales service. So I hope this makes sense. And once again, Mike, we've finished another seminar.
Yes, we did, Sam. And if anybody has questions, please send them in for Sam now. We've got a couple, a question and a comment. So I want to start off with the question first. Amanda asks, what kind of partnerships do you think builders and home brands should aim for to increase trust and then also remove ignorance from the buying or remodeling or the retrofit journey?
Well, I kind of went through the basic ones, which were testimonials, certifications, association with leading brands. Those are all, again, I highlight them because they're very powerful. But there's a fourth one which I covered under service, which is long-term warranty. We're building the ultimate consumer product when we build homes. There's just nothing close in terms of aspiration, emotion, cost, transaction complexity, everything about a home makes it the ultimate consumer product. And then we just leave people with a short amount of time that we back up the product. And more and more, I think the way that you can really earn trust is you can do a 10-year warranty, a 20-year warranty, a lifetime warranty. Again, as long as they're in the home, and you're just backing up. When I do longer presentations, I show how you do long-term warranties, just backing up basic building science, physics, or other warranties that come with your house. For instance, a lot of roofs will come with a lifetime or 30 or 40-year warranty. Have a 30-year warranty for the roof. Your cladding comes with a warranty for 25 years. Have a 25-year warranty for your cladding. But curate all the warranties and make it a warranty package. And when people buy your homes and see that you're backing it up, or or you and your alliances with preferred products, and those companies are backing it up. It's powerful, but often that you have to dig to find that as the buyer. So I think leveraging all the warranties and plus building the ones that you can do. For instance, let's say you use structural insulated panels, there's no possible way for moisture to migrate through the wall assembly. So guarantee no moisture flow through the wall assembly. That leads to moisture problems because it can't be any. Your competition can't do that because there's so many failure points in the complexity of the installation system that goes with advanced wall systems that are framed in continuous insulation. But if you don't back up that there's no moisture flow, you give away a huge advantage to using SIPs, structural insulated panels. And SIPs are dimensionally accurate. So why don't you guarantee you have, if you use SIPs, a absolutely dimensionally accurate wall within 1/8 of an inch? Framed wall, framed assembly builders can't do that. Wood is too much variation and too dimensionally unstable, and it shrinks and expands. So you're providing a quality construction because you're more dimensionally stable. Why are you not guaranteeing that quality? Again, when I do the longer presentations about how to do warranties, we can go through an endless amount of how you can do this with zero risk. And yet we don't do it. And then how much more trust do we have when we back up our product? So that would be a big answer on top of the 3 core ones, in terms of testimonials, certifications, and leading brands that you use.
So a couple questions came in from Connor. I'll get to one of them after a comment that he had sent in. He wanted to know if you had heard of a gentleman named Andy Bounds, Bounds. He's out of England. He talks about afters. So as an example, he says, after buying a home from us, you will experience life in a comfortable, healthy, and efficient home for you and your family. Didn't know if you had heard of that
No,
person.
didn't
Apparently
know.
he wrote a book.
I'll take a look at it.
All right. So the question then, a couple of questions. One, though, is you talked about those curated packages, the level 1, 2, and 3. How do you foresee those working with some of the certifications that are already out there?
Well, normally the certification will be in that level 1. You're not going to build Energy Star for some homes and not for others. What we found from the beginning is making it optional is way too complicated a business proposition. If you're a builder, you can't build one home with all those systems you need to achieve Energy Star and then leave them out of another home. You're going to be Energy Star or you're not, zero ready or not, passive house or not. So level 1 would include all the certifications that you'd be doing, Air Plus, Energy Star, Zero Ready, whatever they may be, a fortified home. That won't vary because it's too expensive, and you got to move away from that kind of complexity as a builder. So I don't think that comes into play. That's part of your level 1 package. You have these certifications. That's how we build. It's the same with the car industry by analogy with safety features. You don't buy the basic LE model without the crash, the crash protection and the seat belts, and without the usually without the blind side monitors, and all the safety features come bundled almost in every model. You're not gonna, it's too expensive to make cars one way and then another way for a cheaper level. So I think that goes away just because you have to build to one level.
Okay. So we have a question from Jan. Jan teaches realtors and says it's hard to be brand positive when the messaging is missing. So what advice would you give realtor instructors in this arena regarding builders and their missing messages?
Oh, goodness gracious. My advice would be to win them over with contrast. Create contrast, show a builder with a really highly effective message and one without. And uh, you can almost bank that the highly effective messaging builders are probably the most successful builders. Messaging is just so compelling. So one way to do that, I think, is just to uh, use the contrast, show one builder's messages against, and to really build, in the case, if you've done good messaging with another builder, let's say that's the service you offer, show how you've helped the builder with more compelling messaging. But good question.
So this is one that's really apropos for you, Sam. Connor wanted to know what you thought of the rebrand from Zero Energy Ready Home to Efficient New Homes program that happened recently.
It's awful. How can it be? It couldn't be more awful. Okay, that's how I'll classify it. Okay, Energy Star is the energy efficient new home. That's its brand. Energy is in its name. You've completely mitigated the contrast between Zero Ready and Energy Star. So I'm going to suspect the name change wasn't done to strengthen the program. I don't know why. I think there might be some opposition to the concept of zero energy and its potential regulatory pathways or whatever it may be. I can only conjecture, but there's no one asking for the change. We try to run our programs when I was there like a business. What does our customers want? And our top tier customer is the builder, and the next tier customer is the home buyer. Do they want a name change for Zero Energy Ready Home? Was it not working for them? This was probably done for political reasons, and so it's a horrible name change. What I always ask when I see a solution is the same question every time. If the name change from Zero Energy Ready Home to Energy Efficient New Home is a solution, you first have to tell me what was the problem. What were you trying to solve by doing the name change? And God bless anyone that can come up with a good reason for that name change. Is
Well,
that
Sam,
clear, or was I a little vague on that one?
well, Sam, you've said before that words are free.
Yeah.
Uh, in this instance, I think they should be getting their money back.
A
Somebody
refund.
been a bad buy on that one.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Jan real quick because Jan had another question. And this is again one that's probably geared more towards you, but not exclusively to you, Sam. Why would a builder choose environments for living over Energy Star? We're talking programs here.
They wouldn't. No, they're 3.5 million Energy Star programs, certified homes, and environments for living. I'll guess they're 500,000 or some. There's some. It's like a 7x, 10x. There's some huge difference, right? But it's a good program. When it first came out, because it did what I asked builders to do. It gave them a warranty. They backed up performance. Environments for Living was great because what it did was it gave the builders it was going after, um, if they followed the guidelines for the program, they would guarantee the energy bill would not exceed a certain amount. And that the temperature within the home would be plus or minus 5 degrees or some number like that, or 3 degrees, everywhere in the house. So they added that extra trust because this home was a guaranteed energy bill. Again, what's happened over time is the guarantee that's being offered is shrinking because the costs of home have gone so high that the benefit of that warranty is not nearly as compelling as when it first was introduced. But Energy Star is the name that has the most value by far compared to environments for living, from my observation.
Yeah.
But it's a good program for the group that introduced it. I don't know how active it is right now, so I can't, but I hardly hear about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, those are all the questions we have for you today, Sam. So we're going to go ahead and put a wrap on this. Thank you all so much, though, for attending today. Thank you once again to Panasonic Healthy Indoor Living Solutions for their generous sponsorship of the Housing 2.0 program. As Sam mentioned early on, our next webinar will take place next week. That's right. Yeah, November 13th. We'll be back with our final Housing 2.0 webinar of 2025. We'll be talking about design trends, and our start time will go back to our usual start time of 2 p.m. Eastern. So you can register for that webinar if you haven't already on greenbuildermedia.com. So if you haven't, please do so. Join us next week. Until next time, have a wonderful weekend and happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care, everyone. So long.